In this video, we will focus on the design and functions of Oceangate's Titan. Once we are fully clear about that, we can examine the history of mentioned flaws of the Titan submersible. A recent report by an underwater expert explains how the 5 crew members knew their fate before perishing. Make sure to stick around until the end of this video, as I will go through his theory with visual animation. Let's start by learning how this submersible was designed. Titan is divided into 3 sections: the bow end cap, the hull, and the aft end cap. The shape is exactly like a capsule. Both of the caps are made out of titanium, holding the carbon fiber hull in between. The bow end cap has 3 purposes. It has plexiglass viewports for external scenery. It is used as a bathroom and as a hatch to enter the submersible. The hull has just enough room for the pilot and 4 additional passengers. The aft end cap is unmanned. Outside of it is used as a storage for oxygen recycling and other electronics. This is the landing frame with weights on it. These weights help Titan descend more effectively. The ones that are hanging can be released to reduce the weight, which helps to resurface without much thrusting power. Speaking about the thrusters, let me explain how they function. The horizontal thrusters control the movement of back and forward. For rotation, these thrusters simply spin in opposite directions. The vertical thrusters control the movement of ascending or descending. Similarly, these thrusters can control the tilt by spinning in opposite directions, but I couldn't find any source of the tilting feature, so this is just my assumption. We got all the important exterior parts of the Titan. Time to view the interior. This box is the toilet seat. For privacy, there's a curtain to divide this section. Let's talk about the hull. There are 3 display screens. The one on the left is the sonar screen. Sonar is sound navigation and ranging. Unlike radar, which uses light waves on land, sonar detects sound waves underwater to discover nearby signals. The screen on the right is the control panel. The biggest screen is to view the exterior camera mounted at the front. Now that we understand how this submersible works, we can get into details of what the previous explorers reported after their experimental dive with Titan. According to the New York Post, a report from the 2022 document team said that the former pilot of the Titan submersible, Scott Griffith, lost control over the vessel as the thrusters began to malfunction during their experimental dive. The 5 crew members on board were panicking while dealing with this terrifying situation just 300 meters away from the Titanic. Allegedly, one of the thrusters had been mounted improperly, causing one to propel the sub in one direction while the other pushed it in the opposite direction. Luckily, the crew members were able to reprogram the controller and fix the propulsion issue after a few hours. Then they went ahead to explore the Titanic. When the documentary crew emerged from the water, Stockton Rush, the CEO of Oceangate, dismissed their concerns about the thrusters, telling them almost every deep-sea sub makes a noise at some point. Let's go further back to 2021. Rush, Brian Weed, and his colleagues went on a Titan test dive. According to Fortune, they encountered problems just 30 meters deep. The propulsion stopped working, and the computers failed along with the communication system. Rush tried rebooting and troubleshooting the vessel on its touchscreens. You can tell that he was flustered and not really happy with the performance, Weed said. But he was trying to make light out of it, trying to make excuses. There were other reports of explorers hearing unpleasant sounds during their dive, but their concerns weren't taken seriously. As you may have known by now, Titan wasn't making much progress in development over the years as it encountered similar issues. Recent news from Mirror reported that the 5 people who died on board may have likely realized their fate between 48 and 71 seconds before the implosion. According to José Luis Martin, a Spanish engineer and underwater expert, theorized in his report that the Titan dealt with electrical malfunction. This is what the expert came up with. During the controlled immersion of the Titan, there must have been an electrical fault, which left the craft without thrust. The Titan changes position and falls like an arrow vertically because the 400 kilos of passengers that were at the porthole unbalanced the submersible. The pilot could not activate the emergency lever to drop weights and return to the surface, and with control and safety functions damaged, it can no longer be maneuvered. As it fell to the depths of the ocean, the hull would have been subjected to a sudden increase in underwater pressure. After those 48 seconds or 1 minute, the implosion and instantaneous sudden death occurs.
These are the debris found and retrieved by the Coast Guards. They were reported to be roughly 485 meters away from the Titanic.
The latest information that could have led to the tragic implosion has been revealed on Mirror. The Titan was attached to the parent ship and dragged through the ocean for 3 days before diving instead of being placed on board. Engineers from around the world have been testifying that the design choices made for the Titan submersible were below industry standards, and being beaten by the rough ocean for 3 days is likely the cause of its failure.
There were many red flags about the Titan. Ignored safety concerns, avoided certifications, breaking engineering rules. The agreement document has the word death mentioned so many times, and it's required for customers to sign before boarding. The question is, was it always meant to be a death trap for rich people? And was it worth it? Here's Guillermo Sonline, Oceangate's shareholder and a loyal follower. This is his response in an interview with 60 Minutes Australia.
Isn't taking paying passengers on an unclassed sub, about which there have been several safety warnings, down to the Titanic, an unnecessary risk?
I know 2 of the other 4 crew members that were lost would cringe if they were being labeled as tourists or passengers. They considered themselves explorers. They considered themselves part of the crew. They considered that their financial investment was going toward scientific research and exploration of the oceans.
But when you have people who had heard cracking noises in the Titan, people who are engineers saying these materials aren't appropriate, your testing isn't appropriate, surely that points to a huge safety risk.
According to Fox,
federal investigators say it could take them up to 18 months to determine why Titan imploded. I'm rather more pessimistic on this matter, so I'm amongst the group who believes that this tragedy will remain a lifelong mystery. But let me know in the comments what you guys think.